like I mentioned, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I also work here at the International Center. I'm a student advisor now, but in my former life, I was an ESL instructor, English as a second language. So I have my master's in applied linguistics with a specialization in teaching English as a second language. I also have a TEFL certificate. I used to do Cambridge exams, if some of you are familiar with those exams. I was an examiner. It's kind of like the TOEFL here in the United States. It's an English language proficiency exam. I've taught in the classroom. I actually started a private language school in Germany with my husband. And I've also tutored mainly French and German students. And I also learned French and German as an adult. So I have empathy for language learners because, as some of you may know, it's very, very challenging to learn a language as an adult. So that's a little bit about me. I've been doing these trainings for a while here at UC San Diego, and I really enjoy doing them. Kind of allows me to get back into my ESL teacher mode, and I really love that profession. So this is just a quick outline of what we're going to do today. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the importance of a needs analysis, and I'll go over what that is. I'm going to give you lots of resources. The way I look at these workshops is really, the program is so diverse and we have so much knowledge within our community. I see myself as really just giving you a lot of resources that you can run with. And Shelley did a survey a couple months ago and asked what you wanted to learn. And a lot of people said they wanted more on and off campus activities. So I've put together a long list of things you guys can do with your tutees. I also have some ESL resources, so some more language-based resources. This is a sample needs assessment form that I'm passing around because I think often we get so wrapped up in wanting to share so much with our tutee that we sometimes forget to ask them what they want to learn or what their goals are. This form is obviously very formal. This is from an English language school. You do not have to give this to your tutee the first time you meet them. You don't have to say, okay, let's sit down and do this test. This is just something to guide you that if your tutee does want a little more formal assessment, you can use this with them. And like I said, this is from a school, so you would have to tailor it to your own situation. But the main point is you really want to ask your tutee what their goals are and what they want to get out from your sessions. And then you want to check in with them regularly to make sure that you're helping them achieve their goals. Because as you have probably noticed from this room, and we're going to talk a little bit about it later, the types of tutees we have in our program, it's very diverse. You could have a PhD candidate, like Paul mentioned. You can have a spouse of somebody studying here. You can have a scholar. We have everything. So you really need to tailor your sessions to meet your tutee's needs and goals. Okay? So like I said, you guys can take this home, just have a look at it when you're at home, and maybe just pull 3 questions from it that you find would be relevant to your situation. Okay? Has anybody done kind of an informal needs analysis with their tutee?
I do an informal writing assessment, but I don't present it as an analysis or an assessment. I just ask them to write about their background and what they would like to cover.
Yep, that's good because obviously that doesn't cause any stress, or it's not as stressful as saying, here's your test, I want to see your English language level. So that's perfect.
It tells me a lot.
Right, yes, that's good. That's a great suggestion. So you guys can take this home, keep this in your back pocket when you need to pull it out if you get a new tutee or if you get additional tutees kind of at the beginning of the process. The next thing I wanted to point out is, like I mentioned, a lot of you said that you wanted more activities to do with your tutees, both on and off campus. And as you guys all know, we live in one of the most beautiful cities in the States. So we're very, very, very fortunate to have all these options. And these are suggestions that students and community members have given me as to what has been successful with their tutee. So obviously the San Diego tourism, that's a great site. I don't know if you guys have been on that before. They kind of have everything from free events to pay events. The San Diego Reader used to be like a magazine newspaper, if you're not familiar with it. Now it's obviously online as well. They have tons and tons and tons of free events. They've got a huge calendar going through every day of every month with things going on in San Diego. Obviously the Union Tribune, the local newspaper. Balboa Park is a great place to take your tutee if you can get the transportation to go down there. If you're not familiar with the free Tuesdays down there, there are, every Tuesday, it rotates through the park as to which museums are free. The one thing you want to be mindful of is, I believe they require a local ID to get that free admission. So if you do look it up and you think, oh, I want to take them to this museum, make sure they have a California driver's license, or they'd be willing to pay the admission price. Free events in San Diego, that's just a website where they list just free events. If you're active and you like to get outside, San Diego Hikers has a great list of all the trails in San Diego. Farmers markets, I personally love to eat and I love to cook. And that's a huge cultural topic that I'm sure we could all spend hours and hours and hours on. What do Americans like to eat? What do your tutees, what do they like to eat in their home country? Things like that. So you could really incorporate that into your sessions. The San Diego Library is a great resource. I don't know, has anybody been to the new library downtown yet? Yeah. Is it nice? I haven't been able to go yet. Yeah, beautiful. And I heard there is parking, that there is a lot that you can get validated, because my whole thing with not going down there is I don't want to try to find parking, but there is parking available that you can get validated for a couple of hours. San Diego City Beat, that's also a great, it's a newspaper magazine that has lots of events. San Diego Urbanist, this is new to me, this is kind of a cool website. Has anybody been on this website before?
No, it's new, right?
It's pretty new, I think, and it's pretty hip, and it's pretty cool. So if you want to look like you're really cool to your tutee, check out some of the events and like the restaurants and the things going on that site. San Diego Magazine's also been around forever.
So what's the difference between the Urbanist and the San Diego Magazine?
San Diego Magazine is more of a traditional magazine where they have like, is anybody familiar with San Diego Magazine? They have articles on like architecture and they do like featured homes in the area and things going on. It's more traditional. The Urbanist is more of a...
Catered towards younger people?
Maybe catered towards younger people, you can think of it that way. Yeah, that's a great... They both have great resources, but that's a good way to think of it. Yelp is a very well-known website. You can find anything on there, but if you just... what I've linked it to is just the San Diego events page of Yelp. And again, it's a calendar with a gazillion different events going on. Sometimes the tutees are missing some of the foods from their home country. Depending on who you have, we have a big Asian population, of course. And so it was suggested these grocery stores, it might be fun and nice of you to maybe take them there if you have the time, or you could meet there. I know some of them have restaurants in the grocery store as well. So if you want to do kind of a role reversal, you guys could meet at maybe one of these grocery stores or restaurants and they could explain a little bit about their culture instead of you always telling them the dominant culture here. So the things to do, those I hope you can take advantage of that, and of course a lot of it has to do with whether or not they have transportation, if they're living in La Jolla, things like that. But wherever you're living, you can always work on their language skills if that's what they're really trying to hone in on. Grammar skills or writing, you mentioned, Karen. A lot of them are struggling with writing. And sometimes us as native English speakers or near native English speakers, we've kind of forgotten or we never learned all the rules of grammar, right? So you're sitting there with your tutee, and they're like rattling off this list of grammatical terms that they know perfectly, or pretty good, not perfectly, or else we probably wouldn't be talking with you, but they know pretty, they're pretty strong in grammar, most of these people. And like I said, native speakers, you usually don't know the grammatical rules off the top of your head of your native language. So I know when I first started teaching, that was like, oh my gosh, how do I answer these questions? And two of my favorite resources, the first one is Betty Azar, and I put her, I pulled up the site on Amazon, just so we can have a look at it quickly. So Betty Azar has a series of books that are, I think, amazing because they are very clear. They're American English, of course, which I imagine most of your tutees want to learn from you. They're extremely clear and they go over everything. There's 3 different levels of these books, so it's broken into language level. So like, I think it's elementary, intermediate, and advanced, or there may be 4. But this is just an example of the exercises. So it's very, very clear. It's old school grammar. It's rules and practicing, which people have all different opinions on, but I find them very helpful sometimes. And she uses these timelines, and she really, because English is a very complicated language. Some people say, oh, it's so easy to learn English. It's very easy to learn basic English, but if you are more advanced, English is extremely complicated, and sometimes it's very hard to understand the rules. And she does great timelines and very clear examples. So Betty Azar is my favorite grammar book. And then the second one is Practical English by Michael Swan. This is set up a little bit different. It's not so much a grammar exercise practice book. This is more, if your tutee says, what's the difference between for and since? Which you've probably never thought about in your entire life. You may have before. But you're like, no, what's the difference between, like, I've been here for 2 hours, or I've been here since 1998. And in their minds, they're trying to figure out the grammar of that, and you don't know. The way Michael Swan's book is laid out is you look up for, F-O-R, and it will give an explanation of when you use for. So like, I've been here for 2 hours. You use for plus a time, an amount of time. I've been here since December 31st. You use since with a date. And you would never think about that in our daily lives, but he says it probably a lot clearer than I do, and then you'll have an answer for your tutee for these types of questions. So these 2 books I've used a lot, and I find them very, very helpful. And I highly recommend them if you're going to be doing this, or if you want to go into this as a profession like later on. So those are just 2 grammar references that you can use if you're not so sure about some of the rules of the English language. There's also a million different websites out there, as we all know. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. I've used Daily ESL before with success, and so I just wanted to pull it up. We also have a EIA blog and website that the links are also in this PowerPoint presentation that has many, many more websites that are good that we've used in the past. This is just an example of if your tutee wants more structure. Some of them don't. Some of them just say, hey, I want to show up and I want to talk. And that's fine. That's the beauty of this program. You can really do whatever you want, which is fabulous. But sometimes it's a little overwhelming because if they don't really know what they want, and you think, or they say, I want to improve my English. You're like, all right, let's get on this. But it's like, how do I do it? I don't know exactly. You can use some of these as like a skeleton outline of maybe your sessions, and then build upon them if you like it. So this has some listening comprehension, where you can listen to the audio.
Is your first stop before leaving on your dream vacation or trip.
And then you can, if you'd like, you can use their vocabulary exercises or comprehension questions. If not, I mean, you could go through, listen to it together, come up with your own questions if you want, or have them talk about their own travel experiences. You can really tailor it however you like. But these kinds of websites give you a little more structure if that's what you're looking for. I just want to point out one thing quickly. The ESL, EFL resources. This gives you links to CNN and BBC as news sources, and it may not go to it, but you guys can explore it at home. They're fabulous because they have English language learner specific sites. So it's up-to-date news. It depends what your tutees want, but if they want to be more in on the current events, you can watch this news. They have everything. They have video, they have podcasts, and then they have supporting material like the comprehension questions and vocabulary, and it's very, 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 very good. I would highly recommend using those. Another thing that I'm going to wrap this up quickly because we could go on for hours. This is so interesting. And thank you for sharing everything. But also with watching movies or TV that Ira just touched on, I don't know what percentage, but I'm going to guess that at least 25% of what we say as native speakers is they're either idioms or they're slang. And that's something these students probably did not, or these tutees probably did not learn in their home countries. So that is another huge area that you can go in with your tutee. And usually everybody loves learning about it because they're usually all different in different languages. And it's interesting and it really helps their comprehension because it's something they haven't learned from a textbook at home in their home country, you know. All right, well thank you very much for coming, everyone.